Leon Vaughn stood silently in the grand hall of the Linwood family estate, where the extravagant wedding between him and Celeste Quinn was taking place. This was supposed to be the happiest moment of his life, yet reality was far from it. This wedding was not about love, it was merely an exchange of benefits. The Linwood family accepted Leon as their son-in-law only for political advantage, but in their eyes he was nothing more than a leech. Despite his humble origins, he had always strived to prove himself, yet his efforts only invited ridicule from the Linwood household. A worthless man like him can actually marry a Linwood heiress? A scornful voice echoed from among the guests. Leon clenched his fists tightly. To them, he was nothing but a pawn. But what they didn't know was that Leon Vaughn was far from ordinary. After the wedding, Leon Vaughn's life in the Linwood family was nothing short of hell. Every day he endured the scorn of his in-laws, forced to do menial tasks while the arrogant elites ordered him around. Celeste Quinn was the only one who treated him with kindness, but even she couldn't change how the others saw him. Then came that fateful day. "Sign the divorce papers." Tears streamed down Celeste's face as her father forced her to sign the documents. The Linwood family had found a more powerful alliance, a marriage with the eldest son of a wealthy and influential family. "You're not worthy of Celeste. Stop tarnishing the Linwood name." Leon looked at his wife one last time. He didn't blame her. He blamed himself for not being strong enough. From that moment on, Leon vowed to change his fate. He would no longer be the man they looked down upon. Leon walked out of the Linwood estate under the pouring rain. His heart was cold, but his eyes burned with determination. He wandered through the empty streets, each step pressing down on the shame he had endured. Even after being cast out, he could still hear the echoes of their mocking laughter in his mind. Suddenly, a shadow flickered past. A group of men in black emerged, blocking his path. "Mr. Vaughn, our master wishes to meet you." Before he could react, a sharp blow to the back of his neck sent him into unconsciousness. Leon Vaughn woke up in a luxurious yet unfamiliar room. Sitting across from him was a middle-aged man whose sharp gaze seemed to pierce right through his soul. "Do you remember who you are?" Leon frowned. "I'm just someone the Linwood family discarded." The man let out a cold laugh. "You are the last descendant of the Vaughn dynasty, one of the most powerful families to have ever existed." A wave of shock coursed through Leon's body. Fragmented memories began to surface. His hidden childhood, the hazy images of his parents that he had never fully understood. The man continued. "Years ago, the Vaughn dynasty was annihilated by an alliance of major forces, including the Linwood family. Your father managed to smuggle you away, but to ensure your survival, your true identity was erased. Now it's time for you to reclaim what is rightfully yours." Leon felt his blood boil. The ones who had looked down on him, the ones who had taken everything from him, they would pay. "What must I do?" he asked, his voice resolute. The man gave a ruthless smile. "Become the strongest, then crush them all." From that day on, Leon Vaughn underwent an arduous and relentless training regimen. He learned to wield financial power, master strategy, and navigate the intricate web of elite society. He was no longer the man they once looked down upon. 4 years later, a new name emerged in the world of tycoons. Lucas Vale, a mysterious man with immense wealth and terrifying connections. No one knew his true identity until the Celestial Summit was announced, the grand event where Leon Vaughn would make his return. The Celestial Summit was one of the most extravagant events in the world of elites, where the most powerful families gathered to discuss the new order of the financial empire. It was also the stage where the strong asserted their dominance. Inside the grand hall of the city's most luxurious hotel, hundreds of influential figures raised their glasses in celebration. The great families, Linwood, Sullivan, Warrington, were all present, each exuding an air of supremacy. Suddenly, a lone figure stepped inside. Dressed in a sleek black suit, his steps were steady, his gaze icy, like a king returning to reclaim his stolen throne. The entire hall fell into silence. Victor Linwood, the head of the Linwood family, narrowed his eyes at the man standing before him. "Who are you?" The man gave a faint smirk. "I am Lucas Vale." No one recognized the man who once was Leon Vaughn, the once despised son-in-law, the man who had once knelt in humiliation, now stood before them with the aura of a ruler. Whispers spread throughout the grand hall. Lucas Vale, a name that had only emerged in recent years, had swiftly dominated multiple financial and real estate markets. No one knew where he came from, but everyone had heard one thing: he was untouchable. Victor Linwood scoffed. A mere upstart dares to step into the celestial summit? Do you think you're worthy? Leon Vaughn lifted his wine glass, his gaze razor sharp. And what about the Linwood family? Do you think you're worthy of existing? The hall fell into stunned silence. He hadn't come to seek approval. He had come to declare war. The atmosphere grew tense. Members of other elite families exchanged glances, carefully assessing the situation. Everyone understood that a man bold enough to make such a statement was anything but ordinary. From a quiet corner, Celeste Quinn watched him, her eyes trembling. Was this still Leon Vaughn? Or had he become someone entirely different? Just then, a man rushed in, gripping a stack of documents. He hurried to Victor Linwood and whispered something into his ear. The Linwood patriarch's face instantly turned pale. Impossible. This is the Linwood family's property. How could it have been acquired? Leon set his wineglass down and spoke slowly. 4 years ago, you stripped me of my dignity. Today, I strip you of everything. The hall erupted into chaos. In a single night, Leon Vaughn had leveraged his immense power to buy out the majority of the Linwood family's assets and shares. Before they could react, their empire was already slipping from their grasp. Victor Linwood slammed his fist onto the table in fury. Are you declaring war? Leon took a step forward, standing face to face with the man who was once his father-in-law. No, he said, his voice unwavering. I'm merely reclaiming what's mine. Every person who had once looked down on him now felt nothing but fear. Victor Linwood struggled to breathe. Years of reigning at the pinnacle of power had made him forget what it felt like to be threatened. But now, standing before him was no longer a worthless son-in-law. Leon Vaughn, or Lucas Vale, as the world now called him, had delivered a crushing blow. In just one night, the Linwood family's core businesses had been seized, their financial assets frozen, and their stock value plummeting uncontrollably. The very people who once groveled before the Linwood family were now turning their backs. The Celestial Summit banquet hall was engulfed in an eerie silence. Everyone understood. A new era had begun. Victor Linwood, though furious, was still an experienced man. He forced himself to stay calm, gritting his teeth as he spoke. Do you think money alone can crush the Linwood family? Don't forget, this world still operates on real power. At his signal, a group of bodyguards suddenly appeared, surrounding Leon Vaughn. The Ascension Banquet was meant for negotiations, but it was also a battleground where the strong could eliminate their rivals on the spot. Many families sighed. It seemed a bloody confrontation was about to unfold. But Leon merely let out a cold chuckle. He clapped his hands once. Click! The doors of the grand hall swung open. A group of men in tailored suits strode in, exuding an overwhelming presence. Leading them was a middle-aged man with sharp, piercing eyes. Everyone in the room froze. It's him! How is this possible? Victor Linwood's eyes widened in shock. Dominic Sullivan, the financial tycoon who operated behind the government, the very man even the Linwood family dared not provoke, was now bowing slightly before Leon Vaughn. Mr. Vaughn, I've brought the gift you requested. He tossed a thick folder onto the table. Victor Linwood's hands trembled as he picked it up. Each word he read sent him deeper into despair. This is evidence of the Linwood family's crimes? Leon's voice was indifferent. Not just that. There's also a list of every family that conspired with you. The hall erupted into chaos. If the documents in this folder were made public, the Linwood family wouldn't just lose everything. They would become fugitives, hunted down by the authorities. Victor Linwood roared in disbelief. Impossible! These documents were hidden away. Who betrayed me? Leon leaned in close, his voice a whisper. The person you trusted the most. At that moment, a figure stepped forward. Tristan Linwood, Victor's eldest son, gazed at his father with a cold expression. Sorry, father, but I choose to stand with the stronger side. Smack! Victor Linwood collapsed to the floor. He couldn't believe that his own flesh and blood had betrayed him. Those who once looked down on Leon Vaughn could now only remain silent. What do you want?" one of the other family heads asked, his voice trembling. Leon smirked. "I don't need your lives, but from this day forward, you will kneel before me." No one dared to resist. All those who had once stood at the pinnacle of power now bowed their heads before him. From a man scorned, Leon Vaughn had become a sovereign ruler. Victor Linwood knelt on the cold marble floor, his entire body trembling. Never in his life had he imagined this moment, betrayed by his own son, crushed beneath the feet of the man he had once scorned. The other family heads bowed their heads, not daring to utter a word. Leon Vaughn stood in the center of the grand hall, his sharp gaze sweeping over those who had once treated him like dirt. "Today, I could destroy you all." His voice was not loud, but every word cut through the air like a blade. No one doubted him. But just then a voice rang out. "That's enough, Leon. Celeste Quinn." She stepped forward, her eyes filled with sorrow. "You've already won, but if you continue, you'll become a monster, no different from those you despised." Leon closed his eyes for a moment. For the first time in years, his heart wavered. He looked around. The powerful figures before him, though kneeling, still harbored hatred deep in their eyes. He knew, if he spared them today, they would return one day to seek revenge. But his gaze met Celeste Quinn's. She wasn't asking him to forgive the Linwood family. She only wanted him to not become the very thing he once loathed. Leon let out a low chuckle. "I am no saint." Then he turned to Dominic Sullivan, who was standing by awaiting his command. "Hand these documents over to the authorities. Let the law decide their fate." Victor Linwood and the other family heads turned pale. Leon didn't need to lift a finger. His enemies were doomed either way. A few days later, news of the Linwood family's downfall flooded the headlines. The ones who once ruled had now become criminals. Meanwhile, Leon Vaughn had risen to a new pinnacle of power, but he no longer found any thrill in battles for dominance. One late afternoon, he arrived at the shore, where Celeste Quinn was waiting. She said nothing, simply reaching out and gently holding his hand. "Can we start over?" Leon looked at her, his gaze softening. No more hatred, no more painful past. Only the future ahead. Leon Vaughn had once been cast aside, trampled upon, but he refused to accept his fate. He returned stronger, wiser. But in the end, he realized that the greatest victory was not in destroying his enemies, but in overcoming himself. If you have ever been underestimated, betrayed, remember that destiny is in your hands. Rise, fight relentlessly, and write your own story.